What's up, everybody? Jordan here with the What's Brewing podcast. We're on episode 3, looking to bring in entrepreneurs in the space who have gone through the grind, have seen success, continue to seek success, and just give an opportunity to share their story because in the world of entrepreneurship, it seems to be very lonely and it's difficult to find a group. So at some point in time, as this thing grows, maybe we'll build a community of entrepreneurs that are here to help each other and support each other. But today I have Billy Cline from Your New Door. I've talked with Billy multiple times. We've had a lot of conversations built around business, brand, ideas, had lunch together. Completely forgot about that. A couple of years ago, I got to see his shop from where he is now. So I'm super excited to have Billy on. Billy, I appreciate you coming on, man.
I appreciate you asking me. I just want to add value and maybe I can help someone out there that's struggling with something and speed up their success.
Yeah, and if you ever follow him on social, I can't tell you how many times he's helping other people just through content, right? And he has no business, has no reason to even do that. But you learn it doesn't matter what business you're operating, you learn a ton of stuff by just following him. So if you find him on social, look him up, connect with him. He's probably one of the best assets as far as somebody to follow is going to give you good advice. So cool.
And lots of nonsense.
Oh yeah, I mean you got to have fun. Like there's got to be a human connection to that. That was one of our other guests. We had that conversation. But so let's get started. So one of the things I did a deep dive on you, right? And Google has a lot of great stuff and some of ChatGPT. But you were featured in CEO Weekly, I believe. And there was a moment we're looking through your profile there, and you kind of describe your early work as kind of like just a job, right? You're like, this is just a job. What changed for you kind of internally? Because I feel like this happens to a lot of people when the job became a business in your mind. You went from job to business.
That's a pretty heavy question, and to unpack. The short answer is I realized that I wasn't a leader, right? And it was until you become a leader, it really is just a job, and until you understand the downstream effects of everything you're trying to do is way more than just to perpetuate collecting money, which is what I was doing, and that the lives that are a part of helping me build a business are the weight that carries is way heavier than me just getting a paycheck. And I realized that I wasn't yet the person I needed to be to do that. And I wanted to grow this company, but I didn't know how. There was so much out there that I was looking for, so many problems, so many issues, and I didn't know where to start. And being that self-reflection and that honesty and realizing that I wasn't quite ready for that is really kind of what led me down this path to do more, to do better, and to help others, even if it's only just the people that are working for me.
Yeah, and I two things you said in there. One, gearing around leadership, and I don't think people talk about that enough. Like there's personal growth that has to happen. Period. End of story. You can't. You have to grow as a person, but I think to me, before marketing, well, yes, you have to market and advertise your business and stuff like that, but before all that stuff, in order to grow, you have to develop personally. You have to become a leader. When you were doing that path though, and you realized that crap, leadership is my thing. I've got to learn to be a leader. What kind of were the things you were looking for to get help? Because I think everybody needs help at some point, especially in that arena.
Self-awareness is really the most important thing you need to figure out, right? And that for me, I became self-aware. I wasn't even a good boss, let alone a leader. I didn't really understand the tenets of leadership. And, I thought leadership meant that I was just the boss and I was the guy that said, hey, this is the way it is, or this is what we need to do. And what I learned is leadership isn't something I can take. It's something the others around me have to give me, right? They bestow, they follow, they tell you through their actions and through their body language and through their results that you're their leader, and they respect you, and they come to you with bigger problems and needing guidance and help, and they trust and respect that you'll send them in the right direction. And you really have to have that first, and you have to have their buy-in to get that. So that's kind of where we started. And for me, the first book that really helped me understand that I wasn't that was the E-Myth. And that book was written about me. I might as well be Sarah and be a pie baker, right? And I really connected with that. It resonated with me deeply and really kind of shined a light. It was like I was standing there, I was in public, standing there looking in the mirror, and I was totally naked, right? So that was really kind of where it started for me. That was about 2021.
Dang, that's young. So you talk about
almost a decade up to that point. It's crazy.
Well, and it's interesting you say that. Like, I think everybody starts an entrepreneur journey like at different times. Mine was in my was that 38. I don't know how I can't do math. It was mid to late 30s before I even did it. Right, I was a nerdy band director before then, but I took all the skills I learned as in that element and was like, let's figure out entrepreneurship. Only to learn that most of it had to do. I had a big personal development journey that had to happen first before I grew. And I think that's the wild and hard part. So you were talking about a book for a moment. And we talked about this too, and I thought this was neat. When we first met, was you run like a leadership book club across your company? How was like what? So do you select the books? How do you go about leading that, and how's it changed like internally in your business?
Well, I read a lot of books, and really kind of when I start to kind of feel something that I feel like one particular book that I've read would help around here, like early on, and we're actually going through it again right now because we've hired a lot of new people and a lot of new faces, is How to Win Friends and Influence People, right? And that's a book that everyone should read, let alone everyone in your company. When we did an acquisition in October, so we inherited, I don't know, close to a dozen people, something like that, and they had never been on an operating system. They weren't plugged into a culture like the one we have here, and they didn't understand how to work together and interact and speak to one another and treat each other and respect one another. And that's really a good book to level the playing field. And if everyone's operating on that sixth grade level of intellect, right, what that means to the book is so full of everything: communication, leadership, sales. There's a whole lot of lessons in that book, and it's very simply written. It was written in, I believe, the early 1930s, and still just as irrelevant today as it was in the 1930s.
Well,
so we did that. We read several books here.
Yeah, well, and you think too. I mean, sales is communication, business is communication. Here's like it really boils down to that. If you can't do that, you're probably going to struggle. Well, you're going to struggle in life in general.
There's a lot of different types of communication that have to happen, and some of it's face-to-face verbal, some of it's email, some of it's just transferring information, right? Binary, whatever, and making sure that's complete and all things. So communication is really an important word, right? And your business is all about communication. If you don't have it, you won't have a business.
Yeah, no, I agree. How do you, so when you talk about communication here, how do you hold like a real space for conversations, not just like completed task, but like when people actually report to you, report under, like how do you build that to where you can, nobody's afraid, there's nobody's afraid to come to the boss or come to who's in front of you. Like what have you done to really build that inside of your company? Because I witnessed it when I was there a few years ago, and I'm sure that it's still relevant now.
Yeah, that's a pretty broad question. There's layers to that, right? And one is through different layers of leadership. I'm at the top of the food pyramid here. That's been a popular topic here lately, but I'm kind of at the top, and there's other layers of leadership, line level, project managers, things like that. And generally in a silo or in a department or a channel, the people within that channel will communicate with each other, and if it's something important, it'll bubble up to me. or if I'm visiting with someone doing a one-on-one or a catch up or something, I will ask them, hey, how's it going? Is there anything you'd like for me to know? Is there any way that I can help serve you better? What's working well, what's not, and then give them an opportunity to share that, because it does a couple things. One, it lets them feel like they're being heard, which they are, and we want to honor that. But two, it also lets them have input into things that need to change. And just these last couple of days, we've spent a lot of time as a company, sharing input and sharing information, because we are making a lot of changes, and the changes we make, I want the people to have ownership of. That way, whenever it breaks down later, you're like, well, we're doing it the way you asked, right? Like, this is this was something you brought up and we fixed it. And now it's, the compliance has become an issue. So what is it, right? So giving them a voice and making sure that they have input is really, at any level of leadership, is important if you want buy-in from your people. Otherwise, you're a manager. Managers manage numbers. Leaders manage hearts.
Yeah, you said allowing people to, what was it? I was like, oh yeah, remember that for just a moment. It was about allowing people to have input. Like, how do you? Because I think a lot of people, and I guess it stems back from ego, possibly, right? Like, oh, nobody's going to know it better than me. How do you? And maybe it comes back to self-awareness too. What have you done as far as really helping these people understand that like, because I think there's a fear of, if I allow somebody to come in and they'll think it's allow them to dictate how we do things, but it's my business, right? But building it to where, and changing the mindset to where, like, yes, they're going to help you build the business. Yes, there is some part to that's where I am, like, I'm in charge. But if you can't give me input and give me different ideas, then, like, we're not going to grow, because I'm single-mindedly into that. So what have you done as far as allowing people to be able to come forward? And then when it comes to failure with that, right? Because failure is going to come with that. I feel like that's most people's fear when hiring, is what happens if they fail. So how do you treat those two things? Because I feel like they're kind of one and the same, when it comes to allowing input from them and then also accepting when they fail.
Listen, failure doesn't necessarily lead to an exit or an exile or a removal, right? Failure is, on any journey or in any, and it's also subjective, to what you're doing, but it's an important feedback loop, right? And if something doesn't work right, or if it was done wrong, or if you need retrained, it gives everyone feedback on where we're at in the journey. So if Jordan worked for me, and I sent you out to do something with the team, and the team all know how to do the thing, and Jordan's learning how to do it, and they let you do it and you fail, or you did it wrong and they retrain you on the spot, cool. Well, now Jordan knows how to do it. But if Jordan goes out and does it wrong again and is neglectful or all things, then we have a problem, right? It's more of an attitude deal. But if you learn from it and then learn from them and you don't repeat that, then that's fine. So the failure is feedback, and it's also something to be learned from. There's a quote that I like to hit every once in a while, and it's along the failures. It's okay to be wrong. It's okay to fail. It's okay to be wrong. You just can't be wrong for very long, right? So, uh, you know, get in, fail fast, fix it, and move on. So that's kind of how we operate.
Let me ask you a question. I'm gonna go off the rails for a moment. It's not off the rails. Talk to me about sales for a moment, because, like, when you first start your business, you're selling yourself, right? At some point, like, it's just me or one or two people. But at some point, there's people think sales is such a dirty word. It's like, oh, we're here to, I don't know. It's always a dirty word. Oh, there's a sales guy. They're just trying to take our money. When did you realize that sales was so important? And then how did you get that instilled into other people and get it off your plate? Because I think that's difficult as well for most entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter what space you're in.
Well, If you can't sell very good, you won't eat very good, right?
Yes.
Or you'll work for someone who can, and those are the two options. The sales, we all want to buy, right? We are all, what's the word?
They're all consumers
We're all,
at heart.
I hit a wall. Yes, we're all consumers. We all want to buy things, right? But none of us want to be sold. So if you want to be in sales, but you don't want to be a salesman, then you be a guide, you help people. And that's exactly what we try and do. I always try and tell people, I'm here. I'm going to give you, as many estimates as you need today. We're going to go through different options. I'm going to help you from the low end to the high end. I'm here to work as a guide. I want to help you buy the thing that you called me for. I don't want to sell you anything. And I'm going to share the data. I'm going to share the details. And I'm going to let you choose what best works. I may inject some logic and ask some questions to help guide us down this path. But at the end of the day, I'm not here to sell you anything. And a lot of times that will help lower the sales resistance, because it doesn't matter if Jordan got in his car today, went down to the car lot with your wife, and you walked onto the car lot with the intent of looking to buy a car, and a salesman runs out the door and says, "Hey, can I help you find something?" What are you going to say?
No, I'm good. I'm just looking.
I'm just looking. And then 10 minutes later, you're going to be looking for that guy to help you find the car you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
It's a natural, innate sales resistance. We all have it. You walk to Macy's, the same thing. The guy walks up, "Hey, can I help you find something?" "No, I'm just looking." 10 minutes later, "I want to find somebody to help find this shirt, right? Or a size or something. I want to buy it, but I don't want to be sold," right? So that's the difference for me. And we do all of our sales over the phone here. We're home improvement, and that's a pretty hard for a lot of people to believe. But we, I don't subscribe to the one call close method and all the things. It's very transactional, and we want to be relational. And there's only two ways to run a business: transactional or relational. They're both okay. It's okay if you run a transactional business, right? It just needs to be, not hidden. And I prefer to be relational. We want to build something that lasts. We want to build something that is fair and honest and all the things that go along with it. And to build a brand, to have a big, solid, long-lasting brand, in my opinion, in a service world, it needs to be relational. So
No, I agree.
a long way around.
I agree. No, I'm with you on that one. That's always been a focus for us, is how do I build relationships first? Everything else comes. I think, money's always going to play a part in it, right? You don't start a business to be broke, I don't think. Most people
serve
want
people and provide value, the money will come.
Yeah, and I think that's a hard shift too. I think most people, especially at the beginning, you're like, man, I got to put food on the table, so I have to have money. Like,
I get it. Yeah.
yeah. But at some point in time, and I tell my wife this all the time. I'm like, look, I still have to serve people. There are people asking me for help sometimes. Should I charge them? Probably. But I know in my best interest and for this person, like, they're not going to be able to afford to work with us or whatever it may be, or this is not the right fit. But I know I could put them on the right path, and maybe somewhere down the road, whether they work with us or work with somebody else, they're going to get the right help they need. And, I think content serves great for that as well. That's what we try to do. Like, once again, this podcast, something like this is a way of being able to bring that value, or like we do, obviously I do YouTube and things like that. And I hope people, make that mindset shift at some point.
Well, we get people to call us all the time and need something we don't do or don't offer or don't want to do, but we always try and serve them by, either if we don't know, we try and look it up and help them find someone else that they can call that would help. Or if it's something adjacent, we generally have resources and contacts that we can, steer them toward, that people that we know that will take care of what they're looking for, even though it's not us. So you can always serve them, even if you can't, do it through sales.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because I've had conversations with a lot of business owners that get mad when people call them and they're not the right fit. They're like, well, like, I can't believe they even called us. Why is this a big deal? I'm like, somebody called your business. One, that means they found you, so you were available. So two, just serve and help them. You never know they may send you a referral one day. Hey, I called this business. It wasn't for me, but they were super
Yep.
nice. So why
We've
not
had
just,
people leave. We've had people leave 5-star reviews that we didn't even work for because we helped them find someone that could help them.
that's how you
So
rank with SEO. So, I mean, just be
yeah,
nice to
yeah,
folks.
just
That's
be
all it is.
nice.
I want to wrap up here in the next 10 minutes. So I want to go back to you for just a moment. We've talked about business and where you started, but talk about if you looked at yourself like 10 years ago versus today, because I laugh at myself 10 years ago, but not as a business owner. Think of yourself as kind of a human being. What was the biggest, and I know we touched on this at the beginning, what was the biggest internal shift from where you are now, from where you saw yourself 10 years ago?
Emotional maturity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, I led my wife and my family down a very um, selfish path, right? I thought I was going to be a professional fisherman, and that chasing that dream, right, that I grew up with, was on the top of my list of priorities more than anything else. So I moved the world to make that happen, instead of a lot of times at the detriment of actual responsibilities, and it was mostly emotional immaturity that caused me to do that, right? And not understanding, you know, I won a lot of money fishing, don't get me wrong, but it cost me a lot more than the money I won in other ways, right? So the experience worth it probably, but it set me back several years, in a lot of ways. So emotional maturity probably is up there for me.
Was it bass fishing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I had and it's besides the point. I had an uncle that did, who's big in the bass world, had little stickers he sold for a long time.
Yeah.
But I miss fishing for sure. Um, so let's go through your probably, I don't want to say your darkest days or your deep moments, but in the moments where you have real doubt, which I feel like happens all the time, whether your growth plateaus, you're challenging, and I know you probably went through this last year. I think we had this conversation. What kept you going when you do see these challenges in business?
Well, early on, it was a lot harder because I didn't have the experience to lean on that there's always a breakthrough if you don't give up, right? And I've had a lot of breakthroughs over the years now by understanding that, but early on, I didn't realize that in would get up against something really hard and feel like that was it, that was the end. And then I met people who had overcome bigger, harder obstacles than what I was going through, and that would that taught me that as long as I don't give up, then there's always a breakthrough. And now I do still have these moments, emotional moments, where there's periods of time where I'm struggling with my next breakthrough and not understanding what that's going to be, and it could be weeks. Like, I just experienced a period of this, after Thanksgiving and up until Christmas, where I was up against this, a wall on what to do on some certain things. But when I finally had that breakthrough, it has been like a tornado, right? Just we've got clarity, we've got direction, we've got a plan, we've got a framework, and now we're running at 100 miles an hour implementing it. But up until that, it was literally like I was stuck in the mud and the tide was coming in, and it was overwhelming. But I would go out and I would sit at night in my my land there, and I would burn wood in the fire pit and just sit and think. And when I was driving, the same thing. And then I would start to get some thoughts, and I would start to ponder on that. And then I would work with my AI agent and work on stuff. And then suddenly the dam broke, and it was just, I've got it. We've got it. And when I started back testing it and pressure testing it against the rest of the people here, it starts to work and it starts to explode. And I'm just sharing a recent example of this. And now it's, we had that breakthrough, and this breakthrough is really punching us through the ceiling we were up against. We're going to punch through it, and that'll be our floor now, and we'll have some ways to go. Right. So
You
that's
said, yeah, you said you were talking about self reflection a lot. Do you journal at all? Do you
I
write
do.
down a lot?
not religiously, but multiple times a week, I write in my journal. I actually keep a couple of them around because I want to. A lot of times I'll write notes and things that I need to think about later, or a problem that I'm trying to break through, and I'll put it in my truck to take to work with me. So in case I have a thought, I can write it down. Sometimes I'll leave it on my desk. So I keep a couple of them going at all times, and I wake up early every single day. I set my alarm for somewhere between 4 and 4:30. And then I get up, have coffee, I read, I reflect, I ponder, and kind of get going, go to the gym, and then come here and turn my brain into chaos.
Yeah, that's what it feels like. As soon as my kids and everybody leave the door, hit the bus, wife gets on to work, it's like full blown. Just all right, here we go. Let's get into it. Although I feel,
Yep.
with kids coming, having younger kids, it's still kind of chaos when they wake up. You're repeating yourself 8 times to get dressed, 10 times to get their lunch made. Hey, you need to eat breakfast. Hey, get your shoes on. Hey, the bus is coming. And so, kind of wake up with chaos right now as we go.
Yep.
Let me wrap up here. So, what do you see? Kind of do you even think of it as legacy, or what do you feel like 20 years from now? Independent of like revenue or scale, like what do you see yourself as a legacy as an entrepreneur and as your business as a whole? Like what are you aiming for? What's the long-term goal?
The only thing that I really care about is that I make it to heaven and my family feels like I did the best I could. The business I don't care about, and that's all that matters at the end of the day. If you're spiritual at all, and of that side, the rest of this stuff is, honestly more than we need, more than I need. I can live without less. I feel like I'm here to help others, especially the people that entrust me for their livelihood. I want to share in the success with them as we go and as we grow. And I'm not greedy. So but outside of, if you ask me professionally, yeah, I want to be the biggest. I want to be the best. I want to take this as far as I can go. I don't want to turn it over to private equity and just, be a simp, for them from that point on, right? I want to control this. I want to steer the ship and either run it off into the heavens or run it off into the ditch, one of the two, right? But outside of that, if my kids love me and have grandkids and bring them around and want to be a part of our lives because they, I raised them, the best we could. And my wife and I, we get to have a long, fruitful old age, right? I'll be happy. That's all I care about.
Love it, dude. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. I know you're slammed and I'm slammed too. I think hearing people's story, their impact, what they struggle and go through. If you guys don't follow Billy at all, find him up, look him up online. He's Billy the Doorman. Cline has some cool commercials coming out on TV. Love it, man. Well, I appreciate it. Thanks for hopping on, and for anybody listening, which we're 3 episodes in. I know you're probably not, but that's okay because 50 episodes down the road, it's going to grow, and I'm going to love it. So appreciate you for hopping on again, and appreciate everybody listening.
When you get out to episode 50, we'll look back and look at how far everybody's come. That's one of the cool things about entrepreneurship. If you're trying to grow, even a year, you look back and it's like, wow, that was me a year ago. I didn't know anything. In another year, I'm going to look back. Wow, I didn't know anything. Keep growing.
Keep growing. Appreciate it, man. Thanks so much.